Were you worried about a letdown game for Carolina after the Kentucky win? Not a chance.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, December 8th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You've joined me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thank you and welcome into all of you who have made us your first listener watch on this Monday. Special shout out to all our everydayers. By the way, brand new Everydayers Club is out and live today. Going to hear a little bit more about that later on in the show. And I want to welcome in all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a whole $20 off your first purchase. Great stuff coming up on the show today. First off, Miami. Congrats to you guys. Notre Dame, thoughts and prayers. Carolina, no let up following the Kentucky game. They were up to the challenge in this one against a rough and tumble Georgetown team. Four Corners recap will be coming at you, led by Derek Dixon's career high in scoring. We've got our Shady stat of the game. It's a little bit out of left field, and we'll have the weekend whip around. All of that coming up today. All right. As a reminder, Carolina beats Georgetown Sunday afternoon, 81-61. It runs their record to 8-1 on the season. It's a quad 3 game, and we'll see kind of where that sits on Monday. I'm recording this obviously on Sunday, and the net refreshes the next day. It doesn't refresh in real time like KenPom does, which refreshed in Carolina is 22nd now at KenPom. Carolina, Georgetown now even all-time in the all-time series between the two. And speaking of the all-time series, I love the ingenuity of Carolina going with the vintage game here, wearing some uniforms a la the 82 championship season, asking fans to wear vintage stuff. Classic. Like, that is the type of stuff, game day experience stuff, that can win you fans that are going to want to come be a part of stuff all the time. More of that, please, UNC. Absolutely love it. A retro pep band as well. Like, just absolutely fantastic stuff. All right. Biggest takeaway from this basketball game. There is always a fear after a big win that a team will have a letdown because they got all right. Like, the next game after the February, the first Duke game of every year, I always worry about a trap game leading into it and a letdown game after it. And that's true, win or lose the Duke game. It's just everybody, I don't care how many times you say, oh, it's just the Duke. No, come on. What are we talking about? Don't kid yourself. But it's always the game after that where it's looking to see if Carolina is professional enough, is locked in enough, is intent on winning enough that they will not have a letdown. And after a big emotional game at Rupp, you worry about that. Thankfully, you had 5-6 days after that before this next game, but still, my thing I needed to see, and we talked about this on Friday's preview show, was Carolina not let up, that Carolina would keep the foot on the gas. And interestingly enough, and I didn't really think about this part of it, but what ended up happening is that Georgetown came in just absolutely hell-bent on taking Carolina out of their rhythm. They went to zone for a lot of the game. They full court pressed a lot of the game. They were rough. They were physical. And yet, Carolina did what they did against a team trying to do all of that. Carolina was ultimately the tougher team. Ultimately, they were the team looking to hit first and to say, get out of here with that, Georgetown. And look, it's a great game plan for the Hoyas. Coach Cooley said basically, hey, we're not going to win if we just go straight up against Carolina. So either we've got to create some turnovers, we got to hit a bunch of threes, something like that. Side note, they didn't hit a bunch of threes. So there's that. But what I love is that Carolina more often than not this season has been the tougher team. They recognize that, yes, we're talented, but yes, we're going to get after it. And I think there were a couple moments in this game where they could have gotten some 50-50 balls. They couldn't. They got out offensive rebounded. I couldn't say that phrase. We'll talk more about that in the Four Corners recap. But I still thought Carolina was more than tough enough. And so much of it to me is the precedent set by the front court. Like, that's where it comes from. Because we've talked so much about Caleb, but so much of it is Henri and his exuberance and his passion and all of that. And I love Henri Veesaar said after the game, quote, "We had one bad game this year against Michigan State when we got punked." That's the word he used. And back to the quote. "Besides that, we have been the tougher team this year. And with the talent we have, if you're the tougher team, you're going to win a lot of games." End quote. I love this from Henri Veesaar. Toughness plus talent equals victories. Talent alone is going to get you some victories sometimes. Toughness alone will get you some games that you might not otherwise should win because you're tough enough. But if you take a team that's talented and not a bunch of prima donnas, and they're willing to be tough, like this Carolina seems to be, and as a reminder, right now doing it without Seth Trimble, who is right in that mix of toughness, you have that combo. And as Henri said, you're going to win a lot of basketball games this year. You've already won 8 of them in your first 9, other than that Michigan State game. And so what we saw from Carolina, I would imagine there are some people listening to or watching this that would think, Isaac, what are you talking about? Georgetown came out, they took the lead early in the first 5 or so minutes of this game. Georgetown did. They came ready for a fight and they hit some shots early. And I don't think that was Carolina being bad. I believe that that's a Georgetown team that is pretty good. They've got some really good backcourt with Malik Mack, with KJ Lewis, right? Like, those guys are a very good backcourt. Now, Georgetown, both because of injuries and just because they don't have the front court to match with Carolina, and eventually that won out. But Carolina eventually responds, pushes out to a 7-point lead in the first half. Couldn't elaborate on that in the first half. And so one of the key things I was watching for in the second half is Carolina going to be tough enough to expand beyond that? And at first, no, but they kept pushing at it. And eventually they just started edging it out to double figures and then all the way out to that 20 points. And let's be honest, it could have been more than that. The back, I don't know, 2.5 minutes of this game were just both teams just woo, like the game was over. Georgetown wasn't going to keep trying, and so Carolina wasn't going to do anything to speed it up and put themselves in a bad place. And here's the key with all of this. So much of it is the front court. 20-14 for Caleb, 18-15 for Henri Veesaar. The first time 2 Tar Heels had at least 18-14 since Sean May and Marvin Williams did it back in the 04-05 championship season. And that was in the NCAA tournament against Iowa State when, oh my word, by the way, Sean May had 24-17 and Marvin Williams had 18-15. But what you need to know about what Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar did on Sunday, that was just the 5th time in Carolina history that a pair of Tar Heel teammates had at least 18 points each and at least 14 rebounds each. And the 3 previous, like before the May Williams time, you got to go all the way back to 1958 for the previous time to that. So since 1958, what just happened yesterday has only happened twice. And the other tandem that did it was another veteran freshman duo in the NCAA tournament of a championship season. Now, I'm not saying that's where Carolina is headed, but you need to know how good this front court is and how much they are the ones, oh, by the way, setting the tone for the toughness that we're talking about right now. You've got John Rothstein out here tweeting. Let me read you this. Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar is the best power forward center combo in college basketball. Period. He tweeted that out yesterday after the game. And John Rothstein's a guy that is as locked into college basketball as anyone else I know, knowing like he's so dialed in to so many teams. And he's saying that full well knowing he was going to get an earful from Duke fans in the comments about Patrick Gongba and Cam Boozer's candidacy for that same title of best front court in college basketball. And yet he still tweeted that anyway. I've been saying it. You've been hearing me say how good they are. Preseason, I talked about them being probably the best front court in the ACC, but now you have it. And if you want to argue somebody else, at worst, they are second or third. That's good enough for me. Elite company for this duo. And man, if they can keep bringing that, Carolina can keep bringing that toughness game after game after game after game. You might lose some, but you're not going to lose many. And that's what Carolina is looking to do as we go throughout the season. All right, it's time to get to our four corners recap from this game. And not only was it the front court, but Derek Dixon coming in off the bench to follow up his nice Kentucky performance, and he did it. Oh, baby, did he do it. That and the rest of the four corners recap coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and it's going to have 48 teams for the first time ever. This is going to be absolutely massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app comes in clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup a realistic possibility instead of completely impossible. You just pull up the app, the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. You pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion and no hunting for the fine print. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, every concert, every event with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up, we got Carolina hosting USC Upstate Saturday. That's going to be a great opportunity to come see the Tar Heels. Or maybe you want to go down to Atlanta for the CBS Sports Classic, where Carolina plays Ohio State and Kentucky. St. John's is the other game. Great tickets, I'm sure, that you're going to be able to find on Game Time. So again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Thanks again for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day. I want to tell you about a new opportunity. It's called the Everydayers Club. If you're a true diehard Tar Heels fan, this is for you. It's a two-tiered approach. I want to tell you about one of them, the more in-depth. It's called the Everydayer All Access tier. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, and exclusive newsletter, and 15% off discount to the Locked On merch store. Hello, merch. What's up? So head on over to lockedontarheels.supercast.com to join the Everydayer program and unlock all access. You can find the link also in the show notes. Check it out. It'll be there. All right, four corners recap. Here we go. Number one, Derek Dixon. Similarly, we talked about how would Carolina follow up the Kentucky win? Would there be a letdown? Sometimes after you have a big moment and people start expecting things out of you, as in Derek Dixon closing out the Kentucky game, you kind of fumble it a little bit in the next game. And that didn't really happen here for Derek Dixon. This dude, still coming off the bench, critical to note, and drops 14 points, a career high, on 5 of 7 shooting, 3 of which were from beyond the arc on 5 attempts, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, chipped in also 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and just 1 turnover, plus 19, and all of that was in 26 minutes, a career high. And that, by the way, was the 5th highest on the team, so playing a starter's minutes in this game. What Derek Dixon is bringing is not just microwave scoring. A lot of times for example, that was Ian Jackson last year, not bringing in a bunch of defense to the lineup, but is going to be able to score and score and score and score in bunches and quick. With Dixon, he also brings defensive capability. You saw multiple times in this game where he did a great job of using his feet to keep Georgetown guards in front of him, not allowing them to penetrate, walling them off, forcing them to take a tough shot. You saw him distributing, not turning the ball over just the one time. So a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. You saw him patiently looking for his shot outside. When the ball came to him, took it, knocked it down. And I know a lot of the conversation last week, and a lot of the conversation, especially coming out of another game where he probably has the better game than Kyan Evans, a lot of the conversation is, so let's move him into the starting lineup. Whatever with those conversations, that's fine. What I want to say is how critically important it is. I'm just going to continue to bang this drum, coming off the bench or starting, to have the Derek Dixon role where you've got he and Kyan Evans, and you've got Luka Bogavac who can initiate. When Seth is back, he can do that. It is just nice to have this stable of guards who can do that. And Derek Dixon continues to grow, continues to impress, and I truly think is going to only continue to ascend in this game. And that takes, or in this season. And that's going to take us to Four Corners recap point number 2, which was a string of 6 straight made field goals for Carolina in the first half, which Derek Dixon himself initiated. 7 minutes into the game, Carolina trails Georgetown 18-14 by 4 points. Just a couple minutes prior to that, Derek Dixon had checked in, but he hadn't taken any shots yet. At 12:04 left on the clock, he takes his first shot of the game, a 3-pointer off a Henri Veesaar pass, makes it so now Veesaar gets the assist. That brings the Heels within 1 and sparks a string of 6 straight made field goals, and plus 2 from the free throw line for Caleb Wilson in that stretch. So Carolina, in that span of 6 straight made field goals and those 2 free throws, turns a 4-point deficit into a 5-point lead and a Georgetown timeout at 8:21, with Carolina now leading 30-25. So Carolina gets these 12 points in just under 4 minutes of game action, about 3:40, if we're being a little more precise. To that point, the game had been back and forth. The teams trading leads a little bit. Georgetown, in a game where we talk about, this is a team that can beat you. They've got some talent, man. Yes, they're down a couple pieces in this game, but they've got some talent. And if you sleepwalk, not even if you sleepwalk, if you just don't play your game, they could beat you. And you saw them take a lead. And there's just that. I think we all got PTSD from last year. And so you're wondering, oh boy, is this one of those moments where the other team just starts getting that lead and eking out and eking out and eking out? They're up 4. Derek Dixon starts it. Carolina flips it to a 5-point lead, and here's the kicker. After that back and forth that it had been, Carolina now leads by 5 and never trails again for the rest of the game. And just slowly and methodologically, as we talked about in the last segment, just pushes that lead out and grows it and grows it and grows it. That's what great teams do, is they wrest a lead away from the other team, and then they never give it back. That's what Carolina did. They were tough. All right, let's go to number 3 in the Four Corners recap. That's rebounding. Carolina has won every basketball game but one, and they've won the rebounding battle in every basketball game but one. And oh, by the way, they've not just won the rebounding battle in every game but one, but those 8 games that they've won the rebounding battle have all been by at least 7 rebounds. Really, really good stuff. And for the season, their rebound margin average is plus 9.89. You could round that up to 10. That's one of the best in the country. And it's interesting because a lot of the time this season, Carolina has been doing it chiefly on the offensive glass. You'll remember they were over 20 in the Kentucky game. In this game, only had 7 offensive rebounds, but they had 38 defensive rebounds, you guys. A lot of that is because Georgetown was in the midst of missing. They were 24 of 72. So what is that? 48 shots? I should figure that out in real time because they missed so many shots. They took 72, but they missed so many. 72 minus 24 is 48. Yikes. So obviously there were a lot of rebounds available for North Carolina to grab, and boy, did they grab them. 38 defensive rebounds. Is that the most they've had in a game this season? I'm not on my page for it, so I can't get to it quickly. Well, let me see if I can. I think I actually can. No, shoot. Boo. Anyway, if that's not the most defensive rebounds they've had all season, it has darn well got to be close. But what was interesting, though, is Carolina as rough and tough as they were in this game, only having 7 offensive rebounds, and they missed 31 shots in totality. They missed 7 free throws. Remember, those count off of free throws as well. And so Carolina just wasn't able to secure a bunch of those. And in fact, those 7 rebounds on all those missed shots translated into by far the lowest offensive rebounding percentage of the season. You know, Carolina's been doing much better for a Hubert Davis team on offensive rebounding this year than they have. But they were under 30% in this game, down 21%. And it was just the second time this year. This game and the Navy game have been the only 2 times they've been under 30% on offensive rebounding percentage. But this one was way down, again, at 21%. And I'm curious to see, like, is that a sign of anything, or is it just an outlier? Right now, I'm chalking it up to outlier, and it just whatever. But we'll see. But it is something to keep your eye on. Back on the offensive side of things specifically, where with rebounding, obviously, we're flipping back and forth. One of the things I've continued to love is Carolina sharing the basketball so well. I specifically want to talk here about their assist percentage in this game, which was 15 assists on 29 made baskets, or 51.7%. On the season, Carolina has been 50% or higher on all but 2 games. 7 of Carolina's 9 games, they've been 50% or higher, and they've never gone under 40%. So every game has been at least 40% assist rate. And part of that is Carolina's capability and willingness to do so as a team, even though they don't have that true point guard in the sense that you've been used to the past 2 years with Elliot Cadeau. But part of it in this game that I loved was so much of that was predicated off of Georgetown's decision to double both Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar. Instead of that being a hindrance to Carolina, they just started swinging the ball, trying to get the best pass for the best look, for the best open guy, and the best shot. And a lot of times they found it, and it came off of ball movement, which meant it came off an assist. I love this for the Tar Heels, and I want to keep seeing it all season long. Keep it up, fellas. That's what we got to do. All right, it's time to get to the Shady stat of the game. And boy, is it speaking of outliers, this one is odd and weird and doesn't make sense at all. We'll get to that and the weekend whip around all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Omaha Steaks, you guys, the holidays, they come with 2 big goals. Number 1, feed people well. And number 2, find gifts for people that they're actually going to like. What if you could combine those together and kill 2 birds with 1 stone? With Omaha Steaks, you can. From hosting to gifting, they deliver the world's best steak experience right to your door. Because during a sale they've got going on called Sizzle All the Way, you can stock up and save in a huge way. 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And it gets even better. Locked On Tar Heels listeners and watchers get an extra $35 off with code COLLEGE at checkout. My wife and I over the weekend just got an Omaha Steaks box from my in-laws, and we've already made plans to use the filet mignons that came with it on Christmas Eve, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited for it, but there's so much great other stuff that came in there as well. I'm excited for all of it. The box showed up frozen, wonderfully packed, ready to cook. I can't wait. Great options: fillets, burgers, dogs, comfort food, side desserts, you name it. It's in there. You can build a box for anyone. It's holiday magic made easy. Order by 6 p.m. Eastern on any given day, and they will ship it out that night. Man, that is customer service at its best. So save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for that 50% off site-wide during the Sizzle All the Way sale. And again, for an extra $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See the site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code COLLEGE. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the Shady stat of the game. So for those of you watching, I'm putting on some shades. These are actually my wife's, although I don't think they look half bad on me. Let's see. Let me take my hat off. Yeah. Oh, man, my hair is such a mess, you guys. There we go. Let's get the hat back on. Shady stat of the game. You know that we've been talking about it. Carolina at KenPom is listed as the #1 team in the nation in average height. It's crazy. Carolina is so big, and that's going to give them an advantage nearly every game this season. And given that statistic, it would stand to reason, Carolina probably going to be able to jump a little bit, probably going to be able to do a lot with rebounding and other things like that. And that's true. But it would also stand to reason, Carolina can probably get a lot of those jump balls, a lot of the tip-offs. Well, here's the thing. Carolina's played 9 games. Would you like to venture a guess as to how many times this season in those 9 games they've won the jump ball? The answer, my friends, is once. Carolina, for all of their size, is 1 win, 8 losses in the jump ball circle this season. And heck, they even tried switching it up for this game. Caleb Wilson had done the first 8 jump balls of the season, and that wasn't working out. So they went to Henri Veesaar against Georgetown, and it still didn't work. So Carolina, 1 win, 8 jump ball losses. The lone win was NC Central. That was it. So I don't know. And it ultimately is whatever, it's, you get so many possessions in basketball. Who cares? But it's just funny. Isn't that a weird outlier? Well, there it is. Thank you, my dear Margaret, for your sunglasses. That's great stuff. All right, let's get to the weekend whip around where it wasn't only the men's basketball team. But again, as a reminder, so many fall sports are now done. Actually, almost all of them. In the winter sports, some of them are ramping up, but others not really yet till after finals week and Christmas break and stuff. But women's basketball, we talked about them on the Thursday night game for Friday's show. They unfortunately lose to Texas. Showed well in the first quarter, but ultimately dropped one. But they get a nice bounce back at home on Sunday against Boston University. Boston, not great. Carolina more than doubles them up, 82-40. Nice, just kind of tune-up game. Nobody had to play even into 30 minutes. Heels led 21-12 after the first quarter and never looked back. Again, Boston scored 40 points. That's an average of 10 a quarter. 5 different Tar Heels in double figures. I love how balanced the scoring attack for this team is. It was led by Alina Arnasola's 14.6 boards and 4 assists. India Navarre just stat sheet stuffing like she always does. 13 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, just 1 turnover, a block, and a steal. Nyla Harris, a near double-double, 10 points, 9 boards, but in just 19 minutes. Really, really nice stuff for the Tar Heels. Again, a great opportunity to get lots of people, lots of playing time. And now they've got an early season ACC game up early. They're playing Louisville next weekend, so got to get ready for that. Volleyball. As a reminder, they beat UTEP in the first round of the NCAA tournament back on Thursday. And so Friday, we're slated to play 3rd seed in the region, Wisconsin, up in Madison. And unfortunately, the ladies get skunked. 3-0. And that's a bummer. But here's the truth of the matter. What a season for this volleyball squad, man. They've won some big time matches. They played a crazy stretch on the back end of ACC play where they played, 4 or 5 straight against top 10 opponents. Just insane. They competed, they battled in every match, and good things are ahead for this program. They're just getting the ball rolling, and you absolutely love to see it. Track and field wraps things up where the track team was at 2 different locations, one in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the other, funny enough, up in Boston. And that, ladies and gentlemen, up in Boston is where Vera Schoberg ran the 8th fastest 3K time in NCAA history, not Carolina's 8th fastest time. The entirety of the NCAA, she ran the 8th fastest ever. It was a 22 for Carolina's record books. It was a 22-year-old record. The 3K was by Shalane Flanagan, and Vera Schoberg just blows by it. Never had a Carolina woman run a sub 9-minute 3K, and she was 17 seconds under. I mean, just crazy stuff. Great job there for Schoberg. In the event at Winston-Salem, Carolina gets 4 individual event wins. Really, really good stuff. Nice to get track and field up and going. Obviously part of both the winter and spring events indoors, and then moving on outside after that. All right, you guys, that'll do it for our Monday show. I want to thank you so much for being with me to get your Monday going here. Going to be a fun week for my family. On Thursday morning, we are heading to Disney World. My wife's 40th birthday is tomorrow. We got all sorts of fun stuff planned. We're going to be celebrating this week, but I'm going to be here with you. But I do want to let you know, with leaving Friday, and then we won't be back till later on Monday. So I'm going to pre-record Friday's show. It's going to be a USC Upstate preview show, And then Monday's show, we're going to have to pre-record that this week as well. So I won't know the events of the weekend, including that game. But Josh Marlowe is going to join me. We're still going to have a fun show. It's going to be a blast. Cannot wait for it. So, even I need to step aside sometimes, but I still want to give you content every day because I know that you want to be here with me hanging out, and I thank you so much for it. Again, a reminder, brand new Everydayers Club, a great opportunity for you to join it. Would love to see you do that. You can subscribe to the show on video and audio. Great way to stay locked into every second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you've not joined the Discord, that link's in the show notes. A great way to be part of our community. Free to join. We'd love to see you there. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then.